The drink that changed everything. The sky over Zeta 9 was purple that evening. Storm clouds were floating high, glowing with green lightning. It was never quiet on this planet. Ships flew overhead, people shouted in 10 different languages, and aliens walked with glowing clothes and extra arms. In the middle of all this chaos, Ray Walker, a human pilot with a worn-out jacket and a backpack full of old tools, walked into a strange-looking bar called the Drunken Moon. He was tired, broke, and thirsty. Inside the bar, lights flickered. Music played from a rusty old speaker. Alien dancers moved like liquid shadows. Ray didn't care about any of that. He had exactly 1 credit left. 1. He slammed it on the counter and looked at the bartender. A tall, bug-eyed alien with silver skin. 1 drink, Ray said, his voice rough. Make it count. The bartender didn't smile. He simply nodded and pulled out a strange bottle with blue mist inside. He poured the drink into a glass that started to glow on its own. This is called the Stargazer's Sip, the bartender said. Only 1 person drinks it every 100 years. Ray raised an eyebrow. Why? The bartender leaned closer. Because once you sip, your fate is sealed. Ray laughed. Right, sure. Just give it to me. Without waiting, Ray picked up the glass and drank the whole thing in 1 gulp. At first, nothing. Then, the bar started spinning, colors twisted. His skin felt like it was humming, every sound stretched like it was underwater. And then, 2 tall alien women walked into the bar. They were beautiful, not in a normal way, but in a way that made time stop. Their skin shimmered like stars. Their eyes glowed like galaxies. Everyone in the bar turned to look, but the 2 women didn't care. They walked straight to Ray. And then, they both knelt in front of him. The taller one spoke first. We have found you, Master. The shorter one added, We are yours now, forever. Ray blinked. Wait. What? People in the bar whispered. A few started laughing. 1 alien dropped his drink. Even the bartender looked shocked. Ray stood up fast. Okay. I don't know what this is, but I think you've got the wrong guy. You drank the Stargazer's Sip, said the tall one. The drink chooses the master. Ray was sweating now. This is some kind of joke, right? The women didn't answer. Suddenly, the glass he drank from floated into the air, glowed, red, and then shattered into dust. Then everything went black. Ray woke up slowly. His head hurt like someone had dropped a moon on it. He opened his eyes and realized he was not in the bar anymore. He was on a spaceship. The room was clean, shining, and full of soft lights. It didn't feel like a prison, more like a palace. He sat up fast. What the? A door opened with a smooth hiss. The 2 alien women walked in. They were both smiling. Good morning, Master, the tall one said. You are safe now. Ray jumped off the bed. Where am I? Who are you? Why do you keep calling me that? The short one stepped forward. My name is Zine. This is Vera. We are your bonded guards. The drink has chosen you. Ray held up his hands. Look, I don't want to be anyone's master. I'm just a guy who flies ships and fixes engines. Vera tilted her head. You are more than that now. The drink activated the signal in your blood. You are the first human to survive it in over 1,000 years. Zine pointed to a screen, on the wall. It showed planets, many of them, and something else. His name, blinking in red. Many will come for you now, Zine said. You are the key. You must be protected. Ray felt cold. Key to what? Neither of them answered. Instead, the ship shook. An alarm rang out. Incoming threat detected, said a robotic voice. Ray looked at Vera and Zine. Who's coming? He asked. Vera looked out the window at the growing shape in the distance. A dark, fast-moving ship with weapons pointed right at them. Zine answered, her voice calm. Someone who wants to kill the master. Before he remembers who he really. New planet, new problems. The enemy ship came fast. It was black, like a shark in space. No lights, no windows, just pure metal and death. It moved like it already knew where to strike. Inside Ray's new ship, everything was chaos. Why? Are they chasing me? Ray shouted as red lights blinked all around him. I didn't even do anything. Vira stood calmly at the control panel. You did, Master. You just don't remember. Zine flipped a glowing lever. Activating hypershield. Brace yourself. The ship jerked hard, as if the universe had sneezed. Everything went white. When Ray opened his eyes, he was lying on the floor. Again. Okay, he groaned. This is becoming a habit. They were no longer in space. Outside the window was a giant planet, green and blue, with massive waterfalls that seemed to float into the clouds. Where are we now? Ray asked. Thalora, Vera replied. Safe for now. Define safe. Ray muttered. The ship landed quietly in the forest, hidden between massive glowing trees. Vera and Zine led Ray outside. The air was thick and sweet, and the plants were watching him, literally. Some flowers turned to follow his movement. A vine waved as if saying hello. Why is everything alive? Ray asked. Zine smiled. This planet recognizes the Master. Ray narrowed his eyes. Stop calling me that. But deep inside, a part of him liked it. They walked into an ancient ruin built into the mountain. Statues of humans in armor stood guard, their faces worn down by time. Some looked almost like Ray. Okay, I don't want to panic, Ray said. But why are there stone versions of me carved into this place? Vera ran her hand across the wall. Because you've been here before. Ray froze. What? Not you exactly, but the one like you. The DNA, the soul, the Master's return. Always. You are number 17. Ray's brain stopped working, for a second. There were 16 before me? Zine nodded. All chosen. All lost. Ray sat on a nearby rock. This is the worst hangover of my life. As they moved deeper into the ruins, the air grew colder. At the end of a dark hallway, they found something waiting. A stone door, covered in glowing human symbols. Ray reached out to touch it, and the door slid open on its own. Inside was a massive room filled with floating machines and flickering holograms. One turned on, a tall golden figure with a human face. It spoke. Welcome, Master Unit 17. Please confirm memory sequence. Ray blinked. Memory sequence? The hologram scanned him. A new screen flashed to life, showing 16 names. All of them marked terminated. Ray's own name, Raymond Walker, blinked below. Zine looked worried now. This wasn't supposed to be here. The system was meant to be reset. Ray stepped back. What happened to the others? The golden hologram answered, voice cold. They failed to complete the ascension. They lost control. Vera asked softly. What is the ascension? The hologram looked straight at Ray. It is the merging of human will and cosmic design. If successful, the Master unlocks the gate of origin. If failed, the Master becomes unstable, dangerous. Ray felt sick. So either I open some magical space door, or I go insane. Correct. Suddenly the room shook. The ceiling cracked. Sirens blared. Warning, tracking beacon activated. Zine shouted, we were followed. Ray ran to the doorway. Outside, shadows dropped from the sky. Black armored soldiers with glowing red helmets. They were fast, organized, and not friendly. Who are they? Ray yelled. Vera's eyes glowed. They serve the Void Architect. Ray pulled back. The who now? The one who created the prophecy, Zine answered. He wants the key, you, to awaken something terrible. Ray sighed. Of course he does. They ran through the ruins as lasers flew around them. Vera used a pulse blade to slice through stone. Zine hacked the vines to block the path behind. Ray tried to keep up, but then something pulled him. Not physically. Mentally. A whisper in his mind. We're not gone, Ray. We're inside you. All of us. He fell to his knees. Visions flashed. Burning cities. Alien armies bowing to him, his hands glowing with power. And then crushing everything. He screamed. Vera picked him up. You heard them, didn't you? Ray shook his head. They're in my head, the other masters. They're warning me, or maybe tempting me. Zine pulled him close. You have to resist. You're not like them. Ray looked down at his hands. They were glowing faintly now. I hope you're right, he said, because I don't want to become a god. He looked up, his eyes cold. I just wanted a drink. Hunters in the void. The forest of Thalora was no longer quiet. Smoke rose from the ruins. Fire crackled in the trees. The air was filled with the sound of marching boots and whirring drones. Black-armored soldiers searched every shadow, scanning for one target, Raymond Walker. But Ray wasn't running anymore. He, Vera, and Zine had escaped through a hidden tunnel deep beneath the ancient ruins. The path was dark, wet, and full of whispering echoes. Strange carvings glowed on the walls, telling stories of old masters, heroes, monsters, and traitors. Ray moved silently between his guards, still shaken from the voices he heard. Zine glanced at him. They're still speaking to you, aren't they? Ray nodded. Not with words. It's like a pressure, like they're pushing me from the inside, wanting me to open something. Vera looked serious. You must not listen. That path ends in madness. Ray frowned. Then why does it feel so right? They finally reached the end of the tunnel, a small metallic chamber with ancient tech glowing softly. Zine pressed her hand on the wall, and a control panel opened. Where are we going now? Ray asked. To someone who might help, Vera said. An old friend. Ray chuckled dryly. Let me guess. More riddles, ancient secrets, and possible death? Zine smiled. Yes, but he makes excellent soup. The chamber rumbled. In a flash of white light, they were teleported away, far from Thalora. They appeared in a dusty junkyard orbiting a broken moon. There were hundreds of broken ships, old droids, and spare parts floating like metal ghosts. It looked abandoned, until a large mechanical crab bot scuttled up to them and scanned Ray. Ah. Finally. The boy who glows, the crab said in a deep robotic voice. Ray blinked. Did that trashcan just call me boy who glows? The crab split, open, revealing a short, wrinkled alien inside. He wore goggles, smelled like oil, and had a robotic arm with tools sticking out like a Swiss Army knife. Name's Grak. Genius, rebel, former master mechanic, he said. You broke the silence. The whole damn galaxy's shaking, so you're the new problem child, huh? Inside Grak's ship, which was mostly duct tape and hope, Ray told him everything. Grak nodded, chewing something that looked like a tiny octopus. You're not cursed, kid, Grak said. You're upgraded. You got tech in your blood, ancient stuff, human-made but forgotten, stuff the Void Architect wants. Ray sat up. This Void Architect, who is he really? Grak's face grew dark. No one knows his real name. He's not a god. He's not a king. He's a builder. He creates and destroys. Thousands of years ago, he helped the humans rise, then turned on them. Why? Because he wanted to use the masters to open the gate. Zine added, the gate of origin, the heart of the universe. Ray leaned forward. And what happens if it opens? Grak laughed bitterly. Game over. All timelines collapse. Everything resets, the universe dies and starts again. Clean slate. He wants to rewrite reality. Ray swallowed hard. So I'm his key. Vera nodded. Yes, and he'll do anything to get you. Right on cue, alarms blared. Grak spun toward the monitor. No, not now. A ship was approaching. Fast, huge, familiar. Ray's blood turned cold. On the screen was the same shark-like ship from before, its front lit up with red energy. Grak shouted, It's him, the hunter. Ray froze. Skorax? Zine growled. One of the Void Architect's creations. Half alive. Full of hate. Skorax wasn't just a bounty hunter. He was a weapon. His body was made of armor and bone. His face was hidden behind a mask carved with human skulls. His voice was like thunder in a cave. He sent a message. Return the master, or burn with him. Ray looked at Vera and Zine. I'm tired of running. Grak opened a drawer and tossed Ray something strange. A small metal band, then let's make this interesting. Ray put the band on his wrist. Suddenly, data flooded his brain. Combat knowledge, weapon systems, old memories that weren't his. He could see every weak point on Skorax's ship like glowing cracks in glass. He gasped. Whoa, is this a weapon? Grak grinned. It's a manual. Now use it. The battle started fast. Skorax dropped onto the junkyard with shockwaves. His blade was made of energy and screams. Yes, actual screams. Ray ducked, rolled, and, by instinct, called out a command. Activate. Pulse shockwave. The band on his wrist lit up. A blast knocked Skorax off his feet. Zine jumped in with twin daggers. Vera used her mind link to freeze time in short bursts. Ray was no longer just a cargo pilot. He was fighting like a master, but Skorax wasn't. Easy. He stood back up laughing. You're waking up, little human. Good. Makes it more fun to kill you. He charged at Ray on fast as light. Ray closed his eyes. He reached inside his mind, to the voices. Help me. And they answered. His hands lit up. A glowing force surrounded him. Skorax's blade hit it and shattered like glass. Ray's voice echoed, not just his but all 17 masters together. We are not your weapon. We are your end. With one final blast, Ray sent Skorax flying into the void. Silence. Grak whistled. Hoo-boy, you're definitely not normal. Ray dropped to his knees, exhausted. Vera helped him up. You didn't lose control. Zine smiled. You're learning. Ray looked at his glowing hands, then at the stars. Then let's find the Void Architect. His eyes narrowed. And tell him I'm not opening any gates. The master tests his power. Ray didn't sleep that night, not because of nightmares, but because he didn't need to anymore. His body was changing. He could feel it. He didn't get tired. He didn't feel pain the same way. He could hear things far away, whispering stars, data streams, ancient voices calling through space. He stood at the edge of Grak's ship, watching the broken moon spin slowly in the void. Is this how it starts? He whispered. Becoming something, not human. Behind him, Zine approached quietly. You're still you, she said. For now. Later, inside the ship's training room, Ray was testing the device Grak gave him, the neural band. It connected directly to his brain. With it, he could move small objects, slow time for a few seconds, and even predict enemy moves. Like a supercharged sixth sense. Grak watched, sipping his disgusting alien tea. You're learning fast, kid. Faster than any master before you. Ray raised an eyebrow. That a good thing or a he's going to explode kind of thing? Grak shrugged. Both. Vera entered the room with a data drive. We've found something, she said. A hidden signal. A call from deep inside the black spiral. Ray blinked. What's that? Zine answered. A region of space no one returns from. Dead ships, crushed planets, pure void. Ray narrowed his eyes. Sounds perfect. Let's go. Grak's ship groaned as it entered the black spiral. The stars here were wrong, twisted as if time bent around them. Shadows moved where light should be. Even the AI went silent. Suddenly a beacon appeared, pulsing weakly from a broken space station floating in the dark. It was old, human design, and still alive. They boarded it. Inside the station, lights flickered. The air smelled of dust and metal. Then they found her, a woman, in a stasis pod, human, alive. Her body was scarred, but she looked strong. Even asleep, she looked dangerous. Ray stared. Is she a master? Vera checked the panel. Yes, Unit 12. Her name was Mira. Ray stepped back. She's one of the ones who failed. Grak frowned. Or maybe she didn't. Zine activated the pod. With a hiss of steam and a soft blue glow, Mira's eyes opened. They were solid silver. She looked at Ray and smiled. So, you're the fresh meat. Ray tried to speak, but Mira was already moving. She jumped from the pod like a panther, rolling and landing on her feet. You're strong, she said. I can smell it. But are you strong enough? Before anyone could stop her, she attacked. Ray barely blocked the first strike. It wasn't just physical. Mira used force bursts, mind pulses, and even bent light to vanish mid-fight. Zine and Vera tried to help, but Mira froze them with a wave of her hand. You want to be the master? She shouted. Then show me you deserve it. Ray was losing, his vision blurred. But then, he gave in. He let the power inside him rise. The room exploded with white light. Ray stood at the center, eyes glowing, surrounded by a pulsing field of energy. He didn't move his hand, he moved reality. Mira froze midair. He twisted gravity, slowed time, bent light, and gently placed her on the ground. I don't want to fight you, Ray said softly. I want to know why you're here. Mira laughed, coughing. Because I survived. Because I escaped. And because I know what the Void Architect is really after. Ray helped her up. Tell me. Mira looked him dead in the eye. He doesn't want you to open the gate. He wants you to become it. Silence. Everyone stared. Ray felt cold all over. Become the gate? Mira nodded. The gate isn't a door. It's a state of being. When a master reaches full power, he becomes a bridge between timelines, realities, and time itself. A living key, Zine whispered. He's trying to unlock the end of all things, using you. Ray fell to his knees. I'm not ready for this. I was just a guy. I fixed ships. I drank too much. I never even... Vira stepped forward, touched his face. You're more than you were, and you're not alone. Suddenly, the station shook violently. Skorax, he wasn't dead. His voice came through the speakers. Come, little master. Let's finish this. But it wasn't just Skorax this time. It was the Void Architect himself. For a split second, Ray saw his face through the broken screen. A tall figure in silver robes, face hidden behind a mirrored mask. No eyes, just the reflection of the universe. And in that mirror, Ray saw himself, older, cold, godlike. The architect spoke. Come home, Ray. You are already mine. Temple of the Forgotten Masters. The stars around the station dimmed, not because of distance, but because something bigger was coming. Ray, Vera, Zine, Mira, and Grak stood together in the ship's control room. Mira was still weak, but she was recovering fast. Her presence alone made the ship feel heavier, like time itself was thicker around her. We have to go to the temple, she said. Now. Ray stared at her. Why now? Because the architect wants you to wait. He wants you to hesitate. And that's when he takes control. Ray crossed his arms. What's in this temple exactly? Another vision? A big glowing do not press button? Mira's silver eyes narrowed. No. The core. The original code. The place where the first humans met the architect and chose wrong. The journey took them to the edge of known space, a swirling nebula that looked like a torn wound in the galaxy. In its center was a planet that didn't exist on any map. Caritha, a dead world made of black stone and pulsing veins of red energy. The atmosphere shimmered like heat off asphalt. Grak whistled. Whew. You sure know how to pick vacation spots. Ray looked at the surface. He didn't feel fear. He felt drawn, like the planet was calling his name. The temple rose from the ground like a claw, jagged towers of stone half-eaten by time. Strange symbols lined the walls, some glowing faintly when Ray walked past. The entrance opened on its own. Inside, the temperature dropped. Everything was quiet. No birds, no wind, no life. The walls whispered as they passed. 17 names. One purpose. One mistake. They found the Hall of Echoes, a circular chamber lined with statues. Each one was different, male, female, alien, human, and each had one thing in common. They all looked like they died screaming. Mira pointed to one. This was Master 3. She opened a door and vanished from existence. Another. Master 11 tried to control time. Failed. Ray stopped. In front of the final statue, it looked like him. Same eyes, same scar on his lip. But that's me. Mira nodded. Master 17. A warning carved by the architect himself. Sign stepped forward. He wrote your failure before you ever began. Ray's chest felt heavy, like his heart was sinking. Suddenly the room shook. A platform rose from the center of the floor, glowing with red light. A voice echoed around. Them, Raymond Walker. Proceed alone. The others started to move, but a force pushed them back. Mira shouted, It's a test. Don't listen to anything inside unless it comes from your own heart. Ray stepped onto the platform, and the chow. World went white. He found himself in a memory, but not one of his own. It was Earth, but not his Earth. Skyscrapers floated. The sky had 2 suns. People walked with glowing eyes, and tech growing from their skin. Ray stood in the middle of it all, unnoticed. And then he saw himself, another version, dressed in silver, surrounded by followers, calm, powerful, and terrifying. This Ray turned and looked directly at our Ray. Welcome me, the silver Ray said. I've been waiting. They walked together through the illusion. You think you're special? Silver Ray asked. You're just a reboot, a cleaner version. But we're all the same. We all break. Some just break faster. Our Ray clenched his fists. I'm not you, Silver Ray smiled. Not yet. He showed him more. A war. Ray standing on a mountain of ash leading armies of machines. Vera and Zine standing beside him, not as friends, but as tools. He saw himself open the gate. He saw the universe fold in half. Why are you showing me this? Ray shouted. Silver, Ray whispered. Because you're not here to stop the end. You're here to decide what kind of end it will be. Ray dropped to his knees. The ground beneath him cracked. The temple, the real one, was falling apart. Back in the chamber, Vera screamed his name. Zine fought to get through the barrier. Mira was trying to keep the walls up with raw psychic energy. His mind is collapsing, she yelled. Inside, Ray stood up. No, he said. This ends with me. He reached deep inside, not to power, not to memory, but to choice. To will, to who he was before all of this. A boy fixing broken engines, laughing with his brother, eating noodles alone on a space station and still feeling like he mattered. He wasn't a god. He was Ray. He punched the ground. Light exploded around. The chamber shattered. Ray rose from the center and floating, glowing, but calm. The others rushed in. Ray, Vera whispered. He smiled. Tired, but himself. I passed the test. Grack grinned. You don't look dead, so I'll take your word for it. Mira looked stunned. No one ever came back from the core. No one. Ray nodded. Then I guess I'm not no one. But before they could leave, boom, the far wall exploded. The far wall. Black smoke poured in. And from the fire stepped the Void Architect. Not a hologram this time. Real. Solid. Terrifying. He floated above the floor, robes rippling without wind, voice like thunder underwater. You passed the trial, he said. Now, pass the final test. He raised his hand. Reality shattered. The temple crumbled, the sky split open, the others vanished. Ray stood alone again, but this time he wasn't afraid. He raised his fists and whispered, "Let's end this." Master, or monster? The world was breaking apart, not like an earthquake, like a dream unraveling. Ray stood in the middle of it, surrounded by floating pieces of the temple, stars that flickered in and out of existence, and shards of reality itself. Before him, the Void Architect floated silently, not a monster, not a demon, but something worse, a perfect calm reflection of control. His mirrored mask showed Ray's face, but not the one he knew. It was colder, older, the face of someone who had stopped caring. "Welcome to the crosspoint," the architect said, "where all your choices come to die." Ray tried to speak, but his voice was gone. The architect didn't need words, not really. He walked across the air like it was solid. Behind him, history played out in holograms. Every master, every failure, every death. "You think you're different," the architect said, "because you care, because you have friends, because you say you don't want power." He stepped closer. "But power doesn't care what you want. It only cares who survives." Suddenly, Ray was in a different place. A battlefield. Mountains of ash, crashed ships, smoke, screams, and in the center of it all, himself, Ray the Conqueror. Dressed in armor made of shattered stars, eyes glowing white, and in his hand, Vera, broken, bleeding, reaching for him. "Ray, please." And he said, "Nothing." He let her fall. Ray tore himself out of the vision. "No!" he shouted. "That's not me." The architect's voice echoed across the broken sky. Not yet. Ray clenched his fists. His hands glowed, but this time he controlled it. "I'm not your puppet." "No," the architect replied. "You are my creation." Flash, a memory Ray had never seen before. He was a child, but not on Earth, not in any place he remembered. Wires in his skin, doctors speaking in whispers, a lab, a machine. He wasn't born a master, he was built to be one. The architect stepped into the memory beside him. "Your DNA, your thoughts, even your fear, all programmed. Your humanity is just decoration." Ray backed away. "No, that's not true. I grew up with my brother. I had a life. You were placed there," the architect said, his voice soft like poison. "A story given to you, to keep you asleep, until the time came." Ray fell to his knees. Everything shook. Was he even real? Suddenly, a voice cut through the static. "Ray!" It was Vera. Her voice pulled him back like a rope in a storm. Zine followed. Mira. Grak. Even Mira's neural echoes pushed through the fracture in reality. They were screaming his name, and not because he was a weapon, because he was theirs. Ray stood up. "I don't care what I was made for," he said. "I choose who I become." The architect tilted his head. "You'll regret that." Ray smiled, fire building in his eyes. "Try me." They fought, but this was no normal battle. This was will versus will, past versus future. Ray created fire with a thought, and the architect turned it into water. The architect summoned storms, Ray bent them into stillness. They moved faster than time, spoke without mouths, and finally, Ray reached inside himself, not for power, but for truth. And there it was, a piece of him the architect never touched. A tiny, stubborn spark. The real Ray. The one who never gave up. Who kept fixing broken things. Even when no one else believed they were worth saving, and he used it like a weapon. One word echoed through all of reality. No. And the architect shattered. The pieces fell like glass. The storm cleared. The temple reformed itself around Ray. Not as ruins, but as new. Whole. Alive. He stood there, exhausted, shaking, but alive. The others rushed to him. Vera hugged him tightly. You came back. Ray smiled weakly. Still me. I think. Zine placed a hand on his shoulder. You faced the worst, and you won. Mira looked around. But it's not over, not yet. Ray nodded. Because now, I know what I am. He looked at the stars above. And I know what I have to do. It's time to end this. My way. One last drink. The sky above was different now. It shimmered with strange colors, like time itself was bleeding through the cracks. The architect was gone. But his legacy was not. All across the galaxy, ancient machines had begun to wake. Gates that had been sealed for eons now pulsed with light. A countdown had started, and at the center of it stood Raymond Walker, the 17th Master. The team stood on the bridge of Grak's ship. Below them, the Gate of Origin. A massive ring floating above a dead star spinning slowly in the void. The gate was alive and humming with raw power. Zine stared in silence. It's beautiful, Mira frowned. It's a trap. Ray didn't speak, he just stared at it, like it was something he'd seen in a dream, or a memory he'd been forced to forget. Grak turned to him. If you go down there and link with it, there's no coming back. Ray nodded. I know. Later that night, Ray stood alone in the mess hall. He poured himself a drink, just water. But as he raised it to his lips, he remembered the first time. That drink in that bar on Zeta 9. The spark that started all of this. And now, it was about to end. In the quiet, Vera appeared. I'm B. Coming with you, she said. Ray shook his head. You can't. If I fail, the blast radius, she cut him off. If you fail, I'm still with you. Ray smiled. Stubborn. You like that about me? She said softly. He didn't answer, but the look in his eyes said everything. They landed near the gate. The surface felt wrong, heavy, like gravity was confused. Ancient runes glowed across the stone. The wind carried voices, Brian, from the past, or maybe from Ray's own future. Mira joined them. She handed Ray a small device, a memory key. If you lose yourself, she said, this might help bring you back. Ray took it. What's on it? Just us, Mira said. Everything we've done, everything we've survived. Ray stood before the gate, and it spoke. Not in words, in feelings, in memories, in truth. You are ready, it said. Open the path. Become the bridge. Rewrite the stars. Ray looked at the others one last time. Vera's eyes glistened. Zine gave a slow nod. Mira saluted. Ray turned and stepped into the light. He felt everything. Every star, every soul, every version of himself across every timeline. Some were heroes, some were monsters, and all of them were tired. He stood at the center of the gate now, floating, glowing. The universe bent around him. This was the final moment. He could open the gate and become the eternal key. He would see everything, know everything, control everything. He could end pain, war, death, but at a price, no more Ray. And then, a voice, small, gentle, his own, from the past, from a memory. Don't fix what isn't broken, it said. It was him as a kid, fixing an old engine, covered in grease, laughing. That tiny voice reminded him of something the architect never understood. Being human isn't about control. It's about choice, mistakes, messy, imperfect, beautiful choice. Ray smiled and made his decision. He reached into the gate's heart, not to open it, to lock it forever. The gate roared, reality shook, and then, boom, a blast of light exploded across the galaxy. Stars flickered, black holes cried out, timelines screamed and merged, and then silence, somewhere far away. The crew of Grak's ship stood on Earth. Yes, Earth. It had been decades since anyone saw it, and now it was healing. The war was over. The machines had shut down. The architect was no more. But Ray was gone, or so they thought. Years later, a quiet bar on a small planet. Nothing fancy. A few old ships parked outside. Music playing, smell of fried food in the air, and behind the counter, a man with a scar on his lip polishing glasses. A human. Nothing special, unless you looked closely. A traveler walked in, ordered a drink. The bartender smiled, poured it, and said, "Careful with this one. One sip could change your life." The traveler laughed, raised the glass, and paused. He looked at the bartender again. "Hey, have we met?" The bartender only smiled. "Probably not," he said. But his eyes told a different story.